My name is Lin Shi. I'm married to Shen He King, a man who others see as perfect, yet in my eyes, he is sexually apathetic. Shi Hao is a university professor, refined and elegant, behind his gold-rimmed glasses. His eyes seem to see right through people's hearts, handsome, highly educated, and with a kind personality. HES exactly the sun minus and minus law that his parents describe as hard to find even with a lantern. The only flaw? Our married life has become like a stagnant pond completely devoid of movement or vitality. To be precise, it's stagnant water once a week. Our intimate moments strictly follow a kind of rigid biological clock. Every Friday night, it's as if we're clocking in for work. After he finishes his shower and lies down on the bed, he turns off the main light and leaves only a small nightlight on. This is the signal that our time together has begun. That evening, as I was applying a face mask, my best friend Kia Ting Wya's widget kept buzzing incessantly. She complained that her younger little wolfhound was way too clinchy. Tian's already been plowed so thoroughly that not even grass can grow anymore. Then she asked me, is your Professor Shen still only coming around once a week? I glanced at my own gorgeous face in the mirror and replied with a dry hum. She sent me a sly dog minus head emoji. Why don't you give him a taste of his own medicine? Like a green hat? Before I could even scold her, the bedroom light went out. Shen He King was already leaning against the headboard, wiping his glasses. In the misty haze of steam, the contours of his figure beneath the bathrobe were strikingly defined: broad shoulders, a narrow waist, radiating the hormones of a mature man. Unfortunately, however, this was merely glittering on the outside while hollow within. HES so gentle, actually. You could even say HES overly considerate. Every time we're done, instead of just collapsing into sleep, he carefully takes out some ointment and asks me softly, are you hurt anywhere? Let me take a look. Seeing his earnest, worried face makes me want to bang my head against the wall. We haven't even started warming up yet, and HES already finished. And now he wants to rub anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving ointment on me. Sometimes I really wonder, did I end up with a husband or a male mom? Afterward, as usual, he helped me wash my undergarments. As I watched his back as he carried the basin out of the room, an inexplicable surge of anger began to rise within me. At an age when I felt as wild and untamed as a wolf, he seemed more like a deeply enlightened monk. Even stranger, I noticed that my undergarments kept disappearing for no apparent reason. Those battle robes he'd carefully chosen would vanish after just one wear. There was no one else in the house, only him. When I asked him about it, he started coughing violently, his ears turning bright red, and stubbornly insisted he'd thrown them away from me. But I clearly saw his eyes darting around nervously. That missing black lace garment? It was unmistakably hidden by him deep inside the drawer of his study. His stifling life had finally driven me to the breaking point. I decided to put Kiao Tingwai's crazy idea, the green plan, into action, hoping to provoke him into an outburst through sheer provocation. I pretended to go to Kiao Tingwai's place to vent my frustrations, but in reality, I headed to a high-end spa for a massage. Kiao Tingyu even made sure to arrange for several handsome male therapists, intending to give me a little taste of something more exciting. However, plans often don't go as expected. Just as we'd gotten halfway through, the door was kicked open. A group of police officers in uniform burst in. At the head of them was one whose sharp features and piercing eyes were breathtakingly handsome. I was utterly dumbfounded on the spot. Even more shocking was that I recognized him. The very abstinence-focused cop that Kiao Tingyu had recently gotten herself into trouble with. Kiao Tingwai's face turned deathly pale, while I, right there in full view of everyone, was led away to the police station. That night Shen He King came to pick me up, leaning against the car door. His face was so grim it seemed as if water could drip from it. All the way home he didn't say a single word, his jaw clenched tightly. I felt as guilty as a mouse facing a cat after babbling for half an hour. He merely gave me a cold glance. When I got home, I was utterly exhausted and collapsed into bed, falling fast asleep. But in my dream, I found myself caught in a thrilling springtime reverie. In the dream, Shen He King was no longer the gentle and caring male mom He but instead, Hed become an aggressive beast, crushing me against his chest. The next morning, I woke up to find a vivid red mark on my neck. I stared at the mirror in horror. This definitely was something that Shen He King, the man who claimed it was just a 1-time thing, could have left behind. Could it be that it sleepwalked? Could this springtime dream have actually come true? To keep the green plan going, I shamelessly headed over to Qiaoting's tea house. As Qiaoting glanced at the mark on my neck, she let out a whistle and said, "Looks like our Professor Shun has been hiding quite a bit." Huh? Just as I was about to retort, Qiaoting suddenly gave me a mischievous grin and handed me a loose fitting black T-shirt. "Put this on. It used to belong to my ex-boyfriend, and I've sprayed it with his cologne. Go wear it back to him and see how anxious he gets." I don't know what came over me, but I ended up putting it on. At 11 o'clock in the evening, I staggered home, reeking of alcohol and covered in the scent of a strange perfume. Shen He King was standing in the hallway, leaning against the wall like an abandoned child. He said the fingerprint lock had broken down, and since he didn't want to disturb my fun, he hadn't called instead. He'd been waiting for me here for several hours. I felt instantly overwhelmed with guilt, so ashamed I could hardly stand it. But he just stared at the T-shirt I was wearing, his eyes gradually growing darker. "Why did you change clothes?" His voice was unnaturally calm. Just as I was about to make up some nonsense, he suddenly said, "Take this shirt off. They'll wash it while I'm at it." Is this guy beyond hell? When his wife wears another man's clothes, his first reaction is to wash the clothes. I went to remove my makeup with a heart as cold as ashes. Not long after, I heard noise coming from the bathroom. Out of kindness, I went to close the door, but through the crack, I witnessed an astonishing sight. Under the warm light, Shen He King stood beneath the shower head. Water droplets sliding down his sculpted abdominal muscles. He lowered his head to look at himself, his gaze dark and unreadable, his hand resting right there. I was so startled that I quickly pulled my head back, my heart pounding like thunder. It turned out he was impotent. He was just enduring it. The next day, I decided it was time to lay my cards on the table, as I looked at Shen He King, who was fast asleep beside me. The anger boiling inside me finally became impossible to contain. I reached out impulsively, intending to take the initiative for once. In an instant, Shen He King went completely rigid. His voice was hoarse when he said, "Let me help you." And then, surprisingly, he got up and headed toward the nightstand to grab a condom and lubricant. At that moment, I felt utterly humiliated. What did he think I was? A patient who needed him to bestow pleasure as a favor. Furious, I threw the pillow at him and stormed into the bathroom, bursting into tears. After I came out, I started packing my bags. Shen He King crouched down in front of me, gripping my wrist tightly. "Where are you going?" I broke down and blurted out, "Shen He King, let's get a divorce. I've been cheating." The air seemed to freeze instantly. It expected him to fly into a rage, to demand an explanation and maybe even hit me. But instead, he suddenly burst into laughter. A laugh laced with a hint of morbid paranoia. "You've been cheating," he murmured under his breath. "Then just break up with him." "Why the hell are you asking for a divorce from me? What business is it of mine what's going on between you two?" I was so amused by his logic that I couldn't help but laugh, but suddenly, he stepped closer, his gaze dark and menacing. "Or do you think I'm not good enough? Do you think I can't satisfy you?" He stood up and pulled out a pair of handcuffs from behind his back. My scalp went numb. "Shen He King, are you some kind of pervert?" He gently smoothed my hair, yet his voice sounded like that of a devil. "Honey, I don't want this either. I've thought about giving you freedom, but you just keep forcing me." He pressed me against the wardrobe and the handcuffs snapped shut around my wrists. "It's all my fault. I gave you too much freedom. How about I let you go once you've calmed down? But if you never calm down in your whole life, then you'll just have to put up with it and stay by my side forever?" I thought I'd be scared, but as I stared at his handsome yet twisted face, A perverse thrill suddenly surged through me. Could this be what Kiao Ting Yu meant by pathological affection? I kind of dig this sort of thing. Locked up as I was, I somehow found myself calming down. Shen Yiqing began to pour out his feelings uncontrollably. He said he'd known me since college. Back then, I was the apple of my professor's eye, bright and full of sunshine, while he was just a poor student who'd lost both parents and relied on scholarships to pay for his studies. He was filled with self-minus doubt and darkness. He loved me with every fiber of his being, but Hed never dared to get close to me. So he worked tirelessly, trying to emulate everything about my father. The refined way he spoke, his gentle demeanor, just to become the kind of person he'd come to love. "You don't know," he said, holding me tightly, his voice trembling. "I think about you every single night. I drink your milk, wear your clothes, collect all your intimate garments. I've even slipped sleeping pills into your milk just so I could hold you when you're asleep." I was so shocked I couldn't speak a word. "So, those mysteriously missing undergarments and those strange milk allergies, were they all his love?" He cried like a child. "I know I'm disgusting and perverted. At 6, I love you so much. If you dare to leave me, I'll just die right here for you." In that moment, all my resentment vanished like smoke. It turned out it was that he was incapable, rather. It was because he loved me so deeply that he feared losing control and scaring me away, which is why Hed pretended to be that gentle, refined living bodhisattva. Watching him cry with tears streaming down his face broke my heart. I tiptoed and kissed away the tears from his cheeks. "I'm not leaving, I'm not getting divorced. I love you just the way you are. Loving you when you're a little crazy." Shen Yiqing suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Really?" he asked, sounding like a child begging for candy. "Really," I said, wrapping my arms around his neck. "But you'll have to make it up to me. Once a week, you're dreaming." At that moment, the gloom in Shen Yiqing's eyes vanished in an instant, replaced by a searing blaze of passion. In the days that followed, I came to deeply understand what regret really meant. He had completely torn off his veneer of refinement, transforming into an tireless beast. From the bedroom to the kitchen, from dawn till dusk, he moved with relentless intensity, all the while whispering softly in my ear, "Honey, is this enough? Do you still want a divorce?" I felt tears welling up but couldn't bring myself to cry. All I could do was beg for mercy. Meanwhile, Kiao Ting Yu was tired either. She brought her policeman boyfriend over to my place to come and demand an explanation, accusing me of my man seeking personal revenge by reporting her store. Shen Yiqing hugged me close, wearing an innocent expression. I just wanted her to learn a lesson. By the way, I'd like to warn those who've even bad influences on my wife. While Kiao Ting Yu and her policeman boyfriend were bickering nearby, Shen Yiqing and I were showing off our love for each other. Extra chapter: Shen Yiqing's diary. I met her for the first time at my mentor's home. At the time, she had just started high school. Her hair was tied in a ponytail, and she was wearing her school uniform. She burst in like a little sunbeam. "Dad," she said loudly, "I want to marry a man just like you." At that moment, standing in the shadows, I silently vowed I'm going to become the kind of man her father was. I'm going to be worthy of her. After we got married, I watched her tossing and turning in my arms, yet I didn't dare to touch her. I was afraid of startling her, afraid she'd discover the lurking beneath my gentle facade. I collected every single piece of her lingerie and did satisfy my physical needs by inhaling the scent lingering on them. The milk I gave her wasn't actually laced with sleeping pills, it was just plain warm milk. I was worried that staying up late would harm her health, so I had no choice but to use this method to help her sleep a little longer. That day, she came home wearing another man's clothes and still carrying the scent of his perfume. Standing in the bathroom, I stared at that T- shirt, my jealousy nearly tearing me apart. I wanted to burn that shirt to lock her up in the house so that she'd be visible only to me. When she said she wanted a divorce, all the rationality it ever had snapped completely. Luckily, she didn't really leave. She told me she actually liked me just the way I was. Now, finally, I can love her openly and honestly. I'm no longer that bland, unremarkable Professor Shenham, her one and only madman. As long as she doesn't leave me, he'd do anything to hell itself.